Our next panel will include Vikki Goodwin, Courtney Head, and Marcos Bales. Should Marcos make Yeah. Doesn't look like we have Mr. Bellis here, so we'll continue with our two candidates that are here today. As we start, we will start off with a 1 minute opening statement from each of you, and then we'll go into questions, and they have 1 minute for a closing statement. And as for you to start off with your intro, can you start off, Courtney?
Well, howdy, y'all. My name is Courtney Head, and I am one of your Democratic candidates for Lieutenant Governor. Just a little bit about me. I am raising two girls with my husband in San Antonio, Texas. Our oldest is a kindergartner in public school. And my background, my educational background is in philosophy and political science. And I've spent nearly a decade now in the commercial and corporate legal spaces. And I have worked my way to the top of that as a young 35-year-old woman running the legal operations and management for one of the top software companies for utilities and airlines in this country. And I say that because it's important. My age is important because the average age of Texans is 36 years old. So it's essential that we're meeting the people where they are. And to go into this further, the work that I do in corporate and commercial legal policy and governance directly translates to what the Texas Lieutenant Governor does for the Senate. And for that benefit, if anybody thinks that corporate and commercial legal world is any less confusing than the Texas government, you'll be surprised.
Vikki Goodwin.
Good afternoon. I am State Representative Vikki Goodwin, and I am here to be your next Texas Lieutenant Governor. After 30 years of Republican leadership, it is past time for change. So the 4 issues that I'm running on are supporting our public education, making sure that we are funding our schools appropriately. Our current Lieutenant Governor cares more about putting the 10 commandments on the walls as opposed to putting the resources in the classroom. Number 2 is healthcare, making sure people can get the healthcare that they need so that they are not creating GoFundMe pages or going bankrupt. With simple, we need to put more emphasis on preventive care. Third is housing affordability. As my background is as a small business owner, a residential real estate broker, I want to make sure that everybody, young people included, can realize the American dream of their own home. And fourth of all is water. Water is a critical issue as our state continues to grow. We must have change. I flipped my seat in 2018, beat a 4-term incumbent Republican, and I plan to do it again. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we'll start with Vikki Goodwin with our first question. Okay, and this is it. Texas is deeply divided politically and culturally. What does unifying leadership look like at the state level? And how would you work with people who fundamentally disagree with you without compromising your values?
So I've had experience with this. Of course, as a Democrat in the Texas legislature, I have learned to work across the aisle. We have to, otherwise we don't get things passed. So just some examples of some bills that I have passed. I actually passed a mental health bill to expand access to a treatment called 5MP, 5-needle protocol, with Senator Bob Hall. We don't agree on a lot of things, but we do agree that we need more mental health services. And veterans were instrumental in getting that bill passed in one session. I have worked with many of the senators, including Senator Zaffirini, hello, Senator Zaffirini, on a drowning prevention bill. And obviously, to get that passed, we had to have bipartisan support. We had a Republican senator help us get it through the Senate, Senator Perry. So I will continue doing that kind of work. Obviously, I am going to stand for the Democratic values. And as Lieutenant Governor, I will have a lot of influence on what gets passed out of the Senate.
Thank you very much. The next question for Courtney is this. The Lieutenant Governor holds immense influence over legislation and the Senate agenda. How do you personally define ethical use of power, and what safeguards would you rely on to prevent its abuse?
So when I think about ethical protections and use of power, I think about our democratic values. Each one of us has a voice, has a political voice, and it's essential to make sure and remain ethical that we allow all Texans to share their voice. So that looks like public testimony. That looks like allowing Zoom testimony. Okay. There is no reason for us. And also, when it becomes ethical, you need to incorporate technological advances. That is also an opportunity for ethics. Okay. Because there are hundreds of thousands of probably millions of Texans who don't have the opportunity to come in and drive to Austin to testify. But we have extenuating circumstances that only allow for Zoom interference or for remote testimony. And safeguarding those decisions is applying those democratic principles to the policy that we want to enact. We need to stay within our lines and make sure that we are guided by the voices of Texas.
Thank you very much. And that's our last question. Go into our closing statements, and we'll start with you, Courtney.
All right, y'all. I know I'm young and I know you've never heard of me, but Courtney Head is going to be a name that you need to remember because we need to, as a Democratic Party, we need to step outside of our echo chamber. Okay. If you look around this room, I see a lot of great established people, but that is not the status quo in Texas. Texas is young, and in order to reach young voters, you need to have reflective representation. You need to have somebody who goes in there, goes to the bars, goes to the shows, meets people where they are. We're not going to meet and get new voters by canvassing neighborhoods. We have to go where they are in the public and meet them. And we need to create more community for these voters that are apathetic and young. They don't feel represented in Texas. And that is what I'm here to do.
Thank you. Vikki?
So this is a really critical race. I feel like it is a life and death issue that we change the leadership of the state of Texas. I have been endorsed by the Texas AFT because the teachers know I am behind them. I have worked with them for many years. I am endorsed by the San Antonio Express News. I've been endorsed by Annie's List. Look at my website. Lots of endorsements, lots of support because of the relationships I have built over the last 7 years in office. It's critical, and we need somebody that will be able to defeat Dan Patrick. It's not going to be easy. I believe I am the person that can win in the general election, and so I would love to have your support. Vikki Goodwin, Goodwin for Texas.
Thank you very much, both of you. Thank you for your time. We'll go on to our next panel.